Hey everybody, welcome to Monday. Here it is, episode 119 of Is This Thing Working? How's it going, Denise?
It's awesome. Yes, my word. That's how I start the show every day. Awesome.
It's awesome.
Yes, because we're glad to be here, glad to be back to work on Monday. We had a great weekend. We're a little bit sunburnt.
Yep.
I feel a little hot today, even with the air conditioner blowing right on me right now because we were out in the sun, this Texas sun.
Yep.
After all the rain
Yep.
for months, it seems like. It was a beautiful weekend.
Yeah.
And we went down to the lake with some family.
Friends.
And camped and had one too many maybe beers. Tried a little fishing, so it was fun. We had a great weekend.
Yeah,
so we came back to work to get a little rest, though. It wears you out to do all that, but it was fun.
Yep.
So we're glad to be back here to talk about Trump, who's back in court today. And we'll get into this. And is the Hatch Act being broken by Biden and the administration and his DOJ and all of his administration? And can anything be done about it? But first,
let me introduce you to Coffee Brothers Coffee, where every cup tells a story. From our carefully sourced beans to our artisanal blends, each sip is a journey of flavor and quality. Whether you need a morning pick-me-up or a midday treat, Coffee Brothers has you covered. Taste the difference today. Coffee Brothers, brewing excellence since day one. If you go to coffeebrothers.com, they've got online promo codes. You can save 10, 15%. A lot of times they have subscription rates. Our favorite blends are the espresso roast, the medium roast. So please just go to coffeebrothers.com.
Yep, or you can click the link below. And we thank you, our sponsors and our listeners, for making it possible for us to keep the show free for you to watch every single day, Monday through Friday. But before we start the show today, we want to state these are our opinions, our assertions. If you agree with us, tell your friends and share the show.
Yeah, and even if you don't agree with us, tell your friends and share the show.
Yeah, do that. Also, stomp that like button and please follow or subscribe wherever you see the name. Is This Thing Working? You help James and I further our reach when you share the show. We appreciate you every single day.
Yep, and don't forget to download the Rumble app. We live stream on Rumble every Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, so you can follow the show there. You'll receive instant notifications when we go live. So let's get on with it. Here we go.
We had some breaking news this morning.
Yes, we did.
As we were fixing to come on.
Yep, and this is about the Stormy Daniels case, the hush money case. This is from Travis for Trump, and this is just in. Judge Juan Merchan is pulling out all of the stops to save Michael Cohen after Trump's team torched him last week. So far today, he's already rejected an email from Cohen's former attorney that rejects Cohen's entire testimony and won't allow Trump's team to submit a document proving where Trump was during Cohen's alleged call to him about Stormy Daniels. Why isn't this judge being removed and investigated? He is clearly being paid off because no judge should be acting as a member of the prosecution. And Travis, I couldn't agree more. And the interesting thing about all of this is, if we remember last week, you had Robert Costello, appear before Congress, and he testified to the lies that Cohen was telling. He testified to all of that. He testified about the phone call. Basically, he debunked everything Cohen was saying, and now they're going to reject that testimony. That testimony, all it does is just further proves how big of a liar Cohen is and the fact that they have no case.
Yes, and they used Cohen as a weapon against Trump for so many years that they're just still stuck on the fact that Cohen was honest. Cohen by no means has ever been honest in anything he's ever done. And after his testimony on Thursday, when it blew up in everybody's face, all weekend, that's all you heard. Cohen is a liar.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's what people were saying all weekend, that there's no way, there's no case. So listen to President Trump's statement before he went into court this morning.
I'm here instead of campaigning. As you know, I was supposed to be in a very different state this morning, and the judge actually decided to call it early, and yet it looks like we're going to have a very big gap between days, and it's going to be determined right now in court. But we're here about an hour early today. I was supposed to be making speech for political purposes. I'm not allowed to have anything to do with politics because I'm sitting in a very freezing cold courtroom for the last 4 weeks. It's very unfair. They have no case, they have no crime. It's been determined by everybody, every legal scholar. New York Post editorial board today, Trump prosecution wind down. It's always been a witch hunt with a prosecution winding down in Donald Trump's Manhattan case. We have to ask, in the immortal words of Peggy Lee, is that all there is? That's the New York Post editorial board. It's become utterly apparent, if that wasn't seen already, that the key elements to any prosecution is missing. The key element is missing, and it says, what's missing? A crime. There's no crime. You know, they go through all this stuff, and there was nothing done wrong. NDAs are perfect. And by the way, legal expenses. You know, we paid a legal expense. You know what it's marked down in the book says? A legal expense. Again, it's not marked down as construction. It's not marked down as sheetrock and cinder block. It's marked down as legal expense. You have a lawyer. You pay him a legal expense, and it's covered in the book as legal expense. I had nothing to do with it. A bookkeeper put it down as a legal expense. This is why I'm here, because we called it a legal expense, a payment to a lawyer. Jonathan Turley, even liberal experts have continued to express doubt over where's the crime. Andy McCarthy, let's stick with the relevant, undisputed facts of the case. Mershon should dismiss this case. He should dismiss this case immediately. Bragg's evidence is woefully inadequate. This case should be dismissed. It should have never been brought. And the judge is highly conflicted. He's a corrupt judge.
You know, I'm looking at Jonathan Turley's article that he wrote on the 19th, and that is where President Trump pulled out that quote from Jonathan Turley. He wrote an article, and it says, "Getting played. The demolition of Cohen and on cross-examination reveals the grift to a New York jury." And that is absolutely true. I mean, just the headline itself kind of tells you that that's all this is. It's a grift. It's a way to make President Trump look bad, to take away his rights, because, look, we had a gag order here. And what's so crazy, or what I think is crazy, is CNN's legal analyst, Ellie Honig, declared herself, "I don't think I've ever seen a star cooperating witness get his knees chopped out quite as clearly and dramatically." Now, if CNN is going to come on here and tell you, hey, there is no case, your star witness has been totally debunked everywhere.
Good point to bring up, too, is that he previously stated that this case would never have been brought outside of a deep blue anti-Trump district. Other legal experts, including CNN and MSNBC, admitted they did not get the legal theory of the prosecution or understand the still mysterious crime that was being concealed by the alleged bookkeeping errors.
You know, the question is whether the jury itself is realizing that they are being played by the prosecution. I wonder that. Every American that's paying attention wonders if the jury
will buy into
all of this.
Yeah.
You know, and that will be the tell right there at the end of it all, when the jury has a case.
Yep.
If they really understand what was going on.
Yep. And they're hoping, like we heard this morning, they're hoping today is Cohen's last day of testimony by cross-examination, and hopefully they'll either have it to the jury by late this evening or they'll have it to them tomorrow. So, yeah, like you say, are they really going to buy into this? Honestly, I would think that anybody could look at this and go, man, if this happens to him, it's going to happen to all of us. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. That's what's going to begin to happen to each and every one of us out across here, each and every one of us that speaks out against our government, each and every one of us that talks about stolen elections, each one of us that talks about the theft of resources, the coups that our CIA is running across the globe, you know, all these different things. Any of these different things that you begin to speak out against, you're going to become what? An enemy of the government. And now they'll have precedent to come at you with anything they want to. They can make it up and It's just bad, man.
You know what's really sad?
It's really bad.
What's really sad is that we don't trust them. We don't even trust our own Americans.
Why would you?
To
why
do the
would
right
you?
thing? Because people, they've talked so bad about President Trump for so long that these people really believe this nonsense about him.
Yep.
That he's really really a bad person, and he's not.
Yep. TDS is real.
It is real.
Yep.
That's the scary thing.
Yep.
That's what scares me about these juries anymore. You know, and something else that scares me is they're also, if you're for guns, they're against you. President Donald Trump was at the NRA convention in Dallas this weekend, and he's right. They are coming for your guns, and they are coming for you to get your guns, and they will put you through anything.
Yeah, this is a story out of Fox Channel 4 out of Dallas, and it says that former President Trump and Texas Governor Abbott were in Dallas on Saturday to speak at the NRA's annual meeting. The crowd at the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center roared as Trump received the NRA's endorsement before he took the stage.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, the former president encouraged gun owners to get to the polls this November. This is the most important election in the history of our country, he said, and he's right. If gun owners get out and vote, nobody can beat us, and that's exactly right.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of gun owners. There is a lot of gun owners, and the amount of gun owners would alone win this election for President Donald Trump.
Yep.
You know,
exactly.
So get out and vote for him.
Yeah, even if you were the kind of voter, and a lot of them are, that come out and vote one issue only.
Yes.
You know, they're issue voters. They find that one thing that, regardless of what else happens, they find that one thing and they go for it and they vote that way.
What I really love about this is the Second Amendment has been fought way more harder than our First Amendment. Have you noticed that?
Why, sure.
You know, people are really like, okay, well, you're going to take away my First Amendment right? Well, I still got my guns.
Well, and the First Amendment, it's clear in what it says. The Second Amendment is even more clear. It says, shall not be infringed.
That's right.
It doesn't say shall not, based on these circumstances and these conditions. It doesn't say shall not be infringed.
You know, but it says President Trump said the gun rights for Americans are at stake.
Yes, they are.
He said we need the Second Amendment for safety. Forget about hunting, he said. It's for safety. The bad guys are not going to give up their guns. He went on to say that if Biden is reelected, the administration will come for your guns. And they will. They are now. We see it happening all over the place.
Yep. And if you ever notice when there's a country that does not have gun rights, say Great Britain, citizens are not allowed to be armed with guns. They can have knives and bats and whatever. But you know, it's the only people that do have guns? The police.
That's it. The police. That's exactly right.
They will be the only ones. Yeah, and there's another controversy with the NRA convention this weekend, too. Apparently, President Trump blanked out for 30 seconds.
Yes. So we really wanted to just give you some context on that because we don't have TDS, and we know that President Trump does things for effect.
Yeah, and so the story is that as he was up there giving a speech, that all of a sudden he began to blank for 30 seconds and just stood there. You know, and then they tried to immediately, the Biden administration jumps all over that, begins to try to create the narrative, pushes it out there on the news. And so if you watch mainstream media, you're going to see that narrative. What, like Denise said, what we're going to do is bring some context to it.
And this was his speech right before this happened.
And what he said in that speech, for context, he said, the Texas spirit of proud independence was forged by cowboys and cattle hands, ranchers and rangers, oil workers, soldiers, and brave pioneers, he said. Many came here with nothing but their boots or on their feet, the clothes on their back, the gun in their saddle. Together they helped make America into the single greatest nation in the history of the world. Trump was then silent for more than 30 seconds. Here's the context. While the music played. And at one point he shook his head. After that 30 seconds, he began to speak again. It says, but now we are a nation in decline, Trump then said. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 58 years, where banks are collapsing and interest rates are skyrocketing. If you notice right there, he stayed on the issues that are most important to us as Americans, which is our open border policy and our economy.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
You know, and he made a point, and he stopped for a moment for you to reflect. Now, we've talked about what the shaking the head could have been. It could have been a million different things because he's looking at a teleprompter and he's talking to his people. I know. You know, we know this. We know this about President Trump. He wants to get everything just right, say everything just right.
Yep, and we know this, about production.
Yes, yes, we do. We know this. And when the music played, it gave him a moment.
Yes, it did. Before we get started today, though, let's remember our sponsor. Today, our sponsor is Brickhouse Nutrition. And one of the great products that Brickhouse Nutrition has is Field of Greens, your daily dose of vibrant nutrition, packed with organic greens, fruits, and vegetables. Each scoop delivers essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Simply mix with water or add to your favorite smoothie for a refreshing boost of vitality. Fuel your body with the goodness it craves. Experience the power of Field of Greens and thrive every day.
I love Field of Greens. I have some myself. I use it every single day. It gives me energy. You know, after I get through drinking my coffee, of course, I have a green drink, and I love it, and I put it in my green drink. It's part of it, and they have different flavors. I have the wild berry, so check them out. Thank you to our sponsors and for you for clicking on the link below. Get you some Field of Greens. You'll feel better for it.
It's www.brickhousenutrition.com.
Did you see the poll that came out this weekend? This Arizona poll. It really caught my attention because, you know, what we just told you is the top two things that Americans are really worried, the issues they're worried about, and that would be immigration and the economy.
Yep.
Well, in Arizona, a question was asked. Who do you think would put the interest of the U.S. citizens over immigrants? And they asked Trump voters and Biden voters. And the poll was astounding. In this poll, Trump was up 72% over Biden, who got only 13%. So that just tells you where Arizona is, the state that is still fighting to be conservative but is going blue really fast. Look at there. They believe that Trump cares about Americans way 72% over Biden.
Yeah, and to put contrast to that, then there's two other polls. Which of them's policies put immigrants over U.S. citizens? Biden policies at 48%, Trump's at 3%. And again, which one of them would their policies put in the interest of U.S. citizens over immigrants? The policies that would treat both equally or neither. Biden's policy still at 39%, Trump's still at 24%. Crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
So we just thought we should bring this forward because this is this tells you where Americans are. Americans know that President Trump will take care of them over immigration at any time, over immigrants.
Because he'll close the border.
He'll immediately close the border.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest show that you care more about U.S. citizens than you do about immigration is because you're going to close the border and you're going to stop that problem that we have.
Yeah, but Biden ain't going to do that. Not with his, people behind him. He was at his own campaign event this weekend. And no one's talking about that very much. You notice?
Well, didn't a whole
it's
lot of
all
people,
about Trump did this, Trump did that.
I don't think a whole lot of people even knew about his rally, especially event.
I actually had to look for it, to be honest with you. Dozens of people show up to a Biden campaign event, Zero Hedge tells us. Joe Biden held a campaign event in Atlanta Saturday, and literally only a dozen of people showed up. They're in this little cafe for our audience, our podcast audience. And it's Biden, Harris, all in the windows. You can't even look in the window.
Yeah. Well, then they show him standing in the middle of the room with a microphone in his hand speaking to the crowd. And this picture alone, like she said, it shows a back wall. And then I see maybe 25 people there, tops.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, they look like campaign staffers to me. He looked totally confused at this event and began saluting as people laughed at him before he was introduced.
Yeah, so out of his 25 supporters, half of them laughed at him. Anyway.
They were...
He's a joke,
He is a joke. As we're watching these little videos that they have going on, none of them have any voice, so we couldn't play them for the podcast audience, and we're not going to play them here. But you see him hugging and kissing everybody. and it's just creepy.
Well, not only that, it's just the lack of interest that any of them show. Matter of fact, one of the videos that they had was his motorcade passing through Atlanta on his way to the event. And you would think that if a presidential motorcade's coming through, that his crowd of supporters would be out there in the street waving and cheering for him with flags and stuff like this. And in the video, there's a crowd full of people across the corner on the other side, maybe about 10 people. And then the person videoing this, he shows an intersection right here, and there's literally 3 people standing there. 3. It's quiet.
No
the motorcade's
flags.
just breezing through. Nobody.
No, USA, 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 like they do
yeah,
President Trump.
And the thing is, if you don't see the lead car with the flags, and you don't see the limo come through, and the couple of black vehicles, because then they had some vans pull through there. But if you didn't see the lead cars or a couple, you wouldn't know this was a presidential parade or a presidential motorcade. You just think it's a bunch of cool looking cars.
And honestly,
You know what
that's
I mean?
probably what they did. That's probably what got them stopped. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah, but-
black cars that look like they're from
but yeah,
the government.
the whole point is just compare the energy between the two, and you tell me that man got 81 million.
No, he did
Votes.
not get 81 million votes, and so does
Exactly.
everyone else. know that.
Exactly.
We've seen plenty of polls that show that.
Yeah.
You know,
We all know the truth. The media continues to try to show you different. They continue to try to influence. They continue to try to interfere with the bad narratives and with bullshit all the time.
everything out of context. You know, and that goes to, we found this article. We thought it was so important that it be out there. It's from the Tennessee Star. And the headline reads, former Bush 43 special counsel. I know, you're wondering, what the heck? But then it goes on to say, Hatch Act could be used to prosecute Biden DOJ and DHS officials for 2024 election interference. Hello.
Yep.
Finally, someone comes out and says it. And they say it good. This article came out yesterday. And this is, his name is Scott J. Block, special counsel of the Office of Special Counsel. He was under the President George Bush from 2003 to 2008. And he told the Tennessee Star on Saturday that a provision of the 1939 Hatch Act, now codified as 18 U.S.C. 595, could be used to prosecute Biden administration, Department of Justice, and Department of Homeland Security officials for election interference and affecting the 2024 election. Amen, brother.
Right.
Amen. Finally, someone comes out. You know, that little KJP that stands up there saying, we can't talk about this because it breaks the Hatch Act, as they're breaking the Hatch Act every single day.
Well, not only that, just the fact that finally somebody has stood up. We've been asking for this now for years. You bring all this lawfare against President Trump. We should fight the same fight. Bring this lawfare back against them. And I think this is an awesome way to approach this, because you can't deny it. In the 1939 Hatch Act, it asks the question in this article, could Section 2 of the 1939 Hatch Act, which prohibits election interference by federal, state, and local officials, be used to prosecute the pantheon of Biden administration officials who have organized the multiple lawsuits against Donald J. Trump? Block wrote, what is going on in the current administration goes even beyond what I investigated at OSC. I'm referring to many examples in the news of the use of the justice system to affect the election, the suppression of speech by the DOJ, the Homeland Security relating to political opponents, which appears to be tinged with intent to interfere with elections. He says, we brought many administrative prosecutions of the Hatch Act violations when I was the head of the U.S. Office of Special Counsel from 2003 to 2008. And he said that in 2007 and 2008, he called for and organized and went after a broad-scale use of the federal government to affect elections nationally, which resulted in a major report, after I left office, he said, of the Bush administration program to get more members of Congress and governors elected using official capacity at the federal level as well as federal resources. I received a special appropriation of $1 million to conduct that particular investigation. It was spurred by an initial large investigation of GSA and its head for offering federal buildings and resources nationally to help GOP candidates get elected, he continues. So he goes, I came close to referring that matter to the DOJ for possible criminal prosecution, but I did not do so because I did not see specific intent to interfere with elections. But I might have referred it once that report came out, which was not completed by the time that I left office. What he's saying is all the things that he's seeing going on right now is something that if this had happened in 2008, like when he served as the Office of Special Counsel at that time, there's no reason this shouldn't be brought up.
Yeah. The thing about it is, and he does go on to point out that this is the Biden's DOJ. So, and if the DOJ is the one that goes after election interference, Hatch Act, and all that, how do you go after the DOJ?
Exactly.
Who does that?
Exactly.
But he says down here, he says the language in 18 USC is quite broad. He says, whoever being a person employed in any administrative position by the United States or by any department or agency thereof, or by the District of Columbia or any agency or instrumentally thereof, or by any state, territory, or possession of the United States, or any political subdivision, municipality, or agency thereof, or agency of such political subdivision or municipality. And it goes on and on and on. But I didn't see that it was broad because to me, it sat right here and told you.
Yeah, it told you in plain terms, if he uses his official authority for the purpose of interfering with or affecting the nomination or the election of any candidate for the office of president, vice president, presidential elector, members of the Senate, members of the House of Representatives, delegate from D.C., or a resident commissioner, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both.
And then he goes on to say that no one has actually been arrested and charged with this for violating 18 U.S.C. 595. And then he said other statutes beyond 18 U.S.C. 595 might also apply. He said there might also be a political coercion of federal employees by the administration under 18 U.S.C. 610. There also appears to be some evidence of intimidation by voters by DOJ and the FBI under 18 U.S.C. 594. There might also be evidence of offers of judgeships in exchange for political attacks on enemies of the administration, which is also a crime under 18 U.S.C. 599 and 600. All of these criminal statutes are solely under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Department of Justice.
So think about this. Just like what he just said, there might also be evidence of offers of judgeships in exchange for political attacks on enemies of the administration. Judge Mershon?
Yes.
There we go. I mean, all of this.
Special Counsel Jack Smith.
Special Counsel Jack Smith.
And that goes to what Julie Kelly brought out this weekend. Again, Jack Smith is doing election interference, and he needs to come up with these charges. Somebody needs to charge him with this because we need to see what's going on with that grand jury that indicted President Trump. And he is refusing to release and unredact those grand jury testimonies.
Right.
So.
Which, if we seen those, more than likely would be intimidation.
Yes.
Factor.
Well, they did that with
coercion factor.
With Walter Nauta. They did that with him.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to coerce him into turning against President Trump and saying things against him. Then they were going to give another judge a judgeship.
Yep.
They were going to take it away.
Yep.
Well, you were up for a judgeship, and then all of a sudden he turns. I mean, this is what they're doing to people.
And anybody that would sit there and try to defend what they're doing might say, well, the difference is this is something that's criminal. We're not interfering with his election. But if this is something that was truly criminal, you wouldn't have filed the charges. You wouldn't have brought the grand juries. You wouldn't have done any of this. You didn't do any of this before he announced he was running for president.
No.
You waited until he announced he was running for president, and then here it all comes.
Yes.
So it's obvious what you're doing.
It's very obvious, and everyone sees it. And I so appreciate the special counsel coming out and reminding us that we have a Hatch Act.
Yep.
And that it's being broken.
And another good thing with President Trump being at the NRA this weekend and being endorsed by the NRA, This happens right in the middle of Ken Paxton making an announcement that he has secured a temporary restraining order against the Biden administration, stopping an unlawful ATF rule from taking effect. This ATF rule that they're talking about deals with an FFL. What the Biden administration is wanting to try to do is say that if you intend to sell a gun to your neighbor for a profit, then you have to have an FFL to do that. So Ken Paxton took him to court. And it says here in the article, and this is from Ken Paxton, the Office of Attorney General's press release, it says that Texas AG Ken Paxton secured a temporary restraining order from a federal judge that prevents the unlawful rule by the ATF from taking effect while this case is being litigated. He led a coalition suing the ATF to prevent a new regulatory restriction that unlawfully attempted to abridge Americans' constitutional right to privately buy and sell firearms. The final rule was arbitrary and capricious and flagrantly violated the Second Amendment. Despite Congress having recognized the legality of private firearm sales by non-dealers, the Biden administration issued a new regulation that would subject hundreds of thousands of law-abiding gun owners to presumptions of criminal guilt for engaging in constitutionally protected activities. President Trump said that at the NRA convention. He said, they're coming for your guns.
They are.
Here's the proof that they're trying. They're trying.
Yeah, and a federal district court has halted the implementation of the ATF rule until June 2nd, 2024, so that any hearings can be held. Paxton goes on to say, I am relieved that we were able to secure a restraining order that will prevent this illegal ruling from taking effect. The Biden administration cannot unilaterally overturn Americans' constitutional rights and nullify the Second Amendment. Amen, sir.
Yep.
Yes, they cannot do this. And they continually fight every state to stop them. I mean, you know how many states now where you can carry?
Yeah,
29. It was 26. Now it's 29. Over half of the states are telling you right now, Biden administration, no.
Yep.
You cannot stomp on America's constitutional rights.
Tell the Biden administration to go to hell. Tell the ATF to go to hell.
Dissolve the ATF.
Is this thing working?
Rise up.
Well, hey, everybody, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you've learned some things about what's going on around us in the nation and in your communities. You know, we couldn't do this without your continued support either. We appreciate all of you showing up, taking the time to listen to us today. So please, like I say, make sure to hit the like button, share our show with all your friends. We'll see you next time on Is This Thing Working? And as always, I'm James, and that's my lovely co-host over there,
Denise.
and we'll see you next time.
We're out.